Just are the ones who's giving in. Oh, there's dropping angels everywhere. 'Cause the righteous are the ones who disappear. Inescapable. Soon you'll be back.
Hello everyone, my name is Rose Shards, but feel free to call me Rose, Rosie, or Chloe, and before I get into this video, my microphone is a little weird lately. It's definitely been messed up. I'm gonna have to get a new headset, so I'm not sure if the quality will be any different. I'm trying my best, but yeah, if anything sounds weird, that's unfortunately why. Nothing I can do about it at this moment, but today I am trying something a little new. You guys have seen me do speed paints where I show my drawing process and talk, but I thought you guys might like to see the progress for an animated map part. I had to switch out the original audio in this video for copyright reasons, but the part with the actual audio will be linked in the description. And obviously, I mean map as in multi-animator project. Honestly, every time I put map in my title or I talk about maps, I'm like scared there's gonna be some devastating misunderstanding. Like, come on, why did the you-know-whos really have to use that abbreviation of all things? But yeah, I'm getting a little off topic already, so, but before I get more into the video, I'd like to talk a little bit about today's sponsor, Skillshare. So, if you haven't heard, Skillshare is essentially this really cool online resource with thousands of interesting and unique classes for creative individuals and more. There's really a ton to learn and discover, and there are tons of professionals sharing their expertise. Unfortunately, COVID is still an issue. My city is now considered to be in a red zone, meaning we're back to more restrictions. So, while you're stuck at home, why not use this as an opportunity to try and explore and learn new things? A class I really loved was Hannah Hackinson's Animating Light and Shade in 2D, with Animate and After Effects. While I'm not personally a fan of Adobe Animate, I frequently use After Effects, and her tips were seriously amazing. I'm actually self-taught with After Effects, so I actually learned a ton about how certain effects work, how masks work, certain settings, the best ways to easily add some flair to your animation, and honestly, just a little bit of everything. On top of this, Skillshare has no ads, new content is always being posted, and an annual membership costs less than $10 a month. However, the first 1,000 people to click the link in my description will get a free trial of Skillshare Premium. So hurry now, because you definitely want to give this a try. So yeah, I'm going to be doing my best to sort of explain my animation process for this part. Honestly, I don't really feel like there's usually a ton to explain when it comes to how I animate, but I did things a little bit differently for this part, so hopefully that means there's more to talk about. So obviously I start my animations by sketching. I'm not that disorganized yet. Honestly, depends on the day. But you guys have probably noticed by now that I did not record the sketches for this video, and that's for two reasons. Firstly, I actually don't like recording my sketching process for any of my time-lapse videos because I feel like it gives me some level of performance anxiety, as weird as it sounds. I mean, I can get that way with any part of the recording process, but it's especially the sketching stage that hits me hard, so I really just avoid it. Secondly, I actually sketched this part in July, and back then I had no idea I would be making this video. So I'll show you guys what the sketches look like now. So yeah, probably not my cleanest sketches, and I'm sure you guys can already see what I changed. Honestly, as much as I wanted to work on this part, I just had no motivation from day one. When I finally got to sketching, I think I did all of it in one sitting, and I definitely did not clean it up as much as I usually would. Not saying it's bad, but I just don't know how obvious it is that I had no motivation. Honestly, even 2 weeks ago, I was considering dropping this part because I just could not bring myself to work on it for some reason. But I'd already let my friend, Cal, host of the map, wait long enough, and it was already way overdue, so I just figured I should tough it out. And honestly, I'm pretty glad I did because I ended up finding motivation once I did some more work on it, and I actually ended up having a lot of fun. But yeah, I only sketched the keyframes because I sort of wanted this to be a quicker part. Also, I find that when I sketch the entirety of my animations, there's not a huge difference anyways. I mean, not a justifiable difference, but I mean, I'd sketch the entirety of a more detailed project for sure, but I'm also not afraid to change things once I've already lined them, so whatever. I don't really know. So yeah, on to the line art. I'll show you guys what I had for the keyframe stage. I'm sure you may notice that there's already some fully in-between bits in there. I lined those back in August. Again, I was really struggling with motivation, so all of the in-between scenes in that work in progress clip I actually did in a few hours one night. I feel like for some reason when I work on map parts, I just work especially fast. I really don't know why. My mind just always goes into hyperdrive. Usually once I start a part, I work obsessively until I'm done, but I just couldn't with this one, which is why I kinda left it. I mean, I'm doing a more detailed video on it now, so I guess it works out. I also skipped the first shot because I wasn't satisfied with the movement, but I really didn't feel like changing it at the time. I am actually very keen on working on my scenes in order, but this was a very rare exception. I'm glad I left it though, because it definitely looks better than it would have before since I finally gathered some motivation, and I mean, I feel like a lot of people don't do their best work when they are not motivated, lining the keyframes was actually really weird because I definitely feel like my style has changed, so it was sort of awkward to have to revert back to match my older art. I mean, my style hasn't changed drastically, but I did some exploration for an upcoming series, and I definitely feel like it's helped me improve my art, so that's kind of interesting, I guess. I'll do a teaser speed paint for that project very soon, if you guys are interested. I'm starting to ramble, so let's move on to the in-betweens, probably my favorite stage of animation. Here's what the in-betweens looked like when I was finished with them. By the time I started the in-betweens, I was totally in work mode and was completely motivated and excited. With the exception of a few small animations, it's been a very long time since I've done actual detailed frame-by-frame animation. I mean, partially tweened animations, such as the Cream and Spooky animations I did, are really fun as well, but in my opinion, nothing beats true, full, frame-by-frame animation. So yeah, this stage is pretty straightforward. Just drawing in between my key poses, adding more in-betweens where I want the movement to be slower, and sometimes adjusting some of the movements after I'm done. I find cleanup in Toonboom extremely easy, so I'm really not afraid of making some bigger changes after I've already done a lot of the line art. As much as I absolutely love and prefer the look of highly smooth 24 to 30 frame per second animations, I actually just finished a huge animation project a few days ago where I had to use 12 frames per second for a lot of it due to time restrictions. On top of this, I feel like I've been exposed to a lot more animations with lower frame rates over the past few months, and so I decided to experiment a bit. I would actually do more of this on 2s than I usually would. For those of you who don't know what that means, animating on 2s is just when you show the same drawing for 2 frames rather than 1. So if you animate using 24 frames per second, animating on 2s essentially makes it 12 frames per second. Of course, there's still a ton of 1s in this part, but I think that I made good use of the 2s, and it definitely sped up the animation process. I'm actually pretty interested in making some animations where I use a lot of 2s rather than 1s, which is interesting because I sort of totally abandoned 12 frame per second animations when I was 12 or 13. Man, how time flies. But I guess I'm coming full circle now. So yeah, this ended up being a good learning experience, I think. And now on to the colors. No clip for this part because this was the final stretch for me and I didn't feel like exporting out another work in progress. Due to everything I dealt with regarding my motivation, I really just wanted this to be a quick part, so once I decided I was going to finish it, I did so in about 3 days. Honestly, pretty fast, but not entirely unusual for me. Since map parts are just free, fun projects, I tend to move through them pretty quickly just due to how busy I can be. But yeah, I colored the animation, not really much to say. For those of you who use Toonboom, I completely recommend that you color using this method that I'm doing right here. Setting your brush to draw behind and setting your fill bucket to paint unpainted is just a godsend combination. You can easily scribble to color little details, and then once you've colored all of the markings or whatever, you can just circle to color the rest of the character all at once, and it's just so amazing. Like, literally, I mean it. It's like, blessed. Like, I colored this entire part in an hour. Shading, on the other hand, was extremely difficult, but I will get more into that later because I am going through my process in order. So on to the backgrounds. I've been really into backgrounds for some time now, but for some reason with this part I completely reverted to my roots and went back to absolutely despising backgrounds. Like, this part was pretty torturous, I can't even lie. Maybe I'd have enjoyed them more if I'd done them beforehand, seeing that's how it works in the actual animation industry, but I don't know. Despite my aggravation, I wasn't about to entirely go back to my roots and make rushed 5 to 15 minute backgrounds. I used to do this up until like 2 years ago. Honestly, it totally messed with the vibe of some of my older animations. So yeah, I'm not about to go back to that. However, I did want to make them a bit rougher than usual, so I just tried to use some more simple brushes and more effects and textures. I also tried to use Devin L. Kurt's nature brushes for a lot of the detailing, which came in so clutch. I typically avoid brushes like these like the plague, but these ones are seriously so amazing, especially the grass ones. Can't say I've mastered these brushes or anything, but I definitely recommend you try them out. And so yeah, going back to shading, maybe the worst part of this animation. Not even that I don't like shading, but I updated my Toonboom, and this is the first full animation I did with the program, and for some reason I have no idea how to get my shading to show up on the onion skin, so I sort of just heavily referenced the previous frame for shading and hoped for the best. Not how you're supposed to do it, but I had no options. I really don't know what happened. So unfortunately shading took way longer than it should have for this reason. It didn't turn out too bad, but God, it was hard. If anybody knows how to fix this, I am desperate. I can't find anything online. Please, please help me. So yeah, after that was the editing. I did a lot of the editing in Toonboom rather than After Effects. Usually I export my drawings and background separately and then I put them together with more effects and such in After Effects, but I was not feeling that for this part. Plus, I didn't actually feel it needed a ton of effects. I also tried something a little different with the shading where I duplicated it, blurred one layer more to kind of give it a softer sort of gradient look. It didn't end up being super noticeable, but I tried to make this part more atmospheric since I sort of moved through a lot of the other elements quickly, and so I do think it added like a nice touch. It's like really subtle, but whatever. Honestly, this entire part actually ended up looking better than I thought it would. Also, that first shot, instead of having it be one consistent camera pan, I tried something new and just added motion blur for the transition. I cannot remember, for the life of me, what type of cut this is called, but essentially the idea is if you quickly pan between two shots that have similar colors, it's not noticeable. It's definitely noticeable in this case though, since I am inexperienced with these types of cuts, but I do think it looks interesting. I also flipped the last two shots so they better match with the first half of the part, but I was planning to do that once I picked this part up again because I literally have no idea why I sketched it like that. But yeah, let's look over the full animation and the work in progress stages again. Honestly, this part had a really rocky start, but I ended up having a lot of fun with it, so I'm glad I didn't drop it in the end. And I'm happier with it than I thought I would be. Of course, there's a lot I changed due to many aspects of it being quite old, and like I've kind of developed a new perspective on like art since I actually started working on this. I mean, I know it's only been a few months, but I really do feel like my taste has changed. But instead of like, you know, kind of like trying to go and obsess and change all this, I decided to just let it go and just have fun with it instead of focusing on every little detail. But again, it does look nicer than I expected it to. I do really think that the editing really brought it all together, and I actually feel like I like a lot of the shots and the movements I had. It also just feels nice to finally bring you guys a fully hand-drawn animation again. I've just been really busy lately, so I haven't had as much time to animate, but that's definitely going to change soon with my brand new upcoming project. More info on that coming soon. So I really do hope you guys are hyped, because I know I am. So thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Peace out.